Over to you, PP Richard.
Thank you. Thank you very much, President Giovanna. Good evening, everyone. I trust that we are well. And let me just express my own, gratitude for just being here. And thank you, President and team, for inviting me to moderate this panel. As a club, we are happy to join the global community in celebrating International Men's Day, which will be celebrated officially tomorrow, but we are ahead of the game, my friends. We do so in the form of this panel discussion this evening. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity. And I will just be guiding a conversation through a series of questions, ensuring all our panelists get their chance to speak and add value to this discussion. And you, my friends, will be able to chime in at a point when we open the floor for that discussion. Now, the theme this evening is the modern man, redefining strength, value, and purpose. Now, what is this modern man looking like? Well, according to some people, the modern man is defined by emotional intelligence, adaptability, balance between tradition and innovation, and a strong focus on sustainability and self-care. He is no longer confined to rigid stereotypes of toughness and dominance, but instead embraces authenticity, resilience, and connection. And so, my friends, for our discussion this evening, we want to focus our attention on the perspectives of strength, value, and purpose. We're happy to have a team of distinguished men, all members of the Kiwanis Club of Barbican. And let's meet our panelists, therefore. I'm going to invite our panelists as I introduce you to please just say hello and to open your camera so we can see you. Yes? First up is Matthew Francis. He's a career administrative professional in the higher education sector, my friends. He is a member of the Jamaica Association of Administrative Professionals, Kingston chapter, and an alumnus of the Excelsior High School and the University of the West Indies, Mona. Currently serves
Again,
as,
animal. Again,
sorry,
animal. Thank you.
a gay animal. Yes?
Excelsior.
All right. Okay, Auntie Bev. Yes. Currently, he serves as a director on the board of this club. So welcome, Matthew. Happy to have you on.
Good
Next
evening.
up,
Thank you.
we have Klemarr Johnson. Yes. Now, he's a government auditor with over 10 years experience, an avid writer and reader, a father of girls, and he is a distinguished president of this club. Welcome, Klemarr. Next, Klemarr.
Good evening, everyone. Good.
Oh, okay, great.
Can you hear me
Next up,
clearly?
yes, we just heard you. Thank you, Klemarr. Next up, folks, is Dane McLean. He is a project management professional with over 23 years experience managing development projects in a range of sectors. He's the holder of an advanced certificate in applied project management principles and a MSc, economic development policy. Now he's a proud daddy of daughter admirer, and a lover of cricket, a distinguished president of our club. Let's welcome Dane McLean.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, PP Richard. Just correction, 13 years project management.
It's 13.
Remember, I'm only 25. So yes, yes. Yeah, so don't, you're aging me there, PP. I'm only 25 years old. All right? Okay.
I think that might have been a typo error.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that, sir. Next up, and the final panelist is Priesnell Warren. He's an economist and vastly becoming a social scientist, my friends. The managing director of Frontier Business Advisory, a Caribbean-focused strategic capital advisory firm. And guess what? An alumnus of the University of Technology, Jamaica. He's also a distinguished president of our club. Priesnell, are you there? Priesnell? Mr. Warren?
But yes, I'm here. I'm also representing for the Reggae Boys tonight as well.
Very well, very well, very well. All right, folks. So we'll ask a few questions and our panelists will share their views and as we go along, we'll be having a discussion that will open up to the ladies of the club and of course the other gentlemen who are online, that we make sure we have everything done in order. Now, we have the opportunity this evening to look at redefining identity. They say sometimes, what box are we in? Everybody tries to box us in as men. And the thing is, we have to think outside the box if we are to survive. But anyway, when we hear the phrase, gentlemen, our panelists now, when we hear the phrase, be a man, what does it mean for you in 2025? And tell us, how does it differ from the message your father's generation received in those days? So who will go first? Will Matthew go first? Go right ahead.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, I'm one of those who didn't grow up with my father, so I may be a little bit out of my depth here, but I think from what I've heard in society and growing up, what immediately comes to mind are some of the stereotypes. Men are told to be strong, don't cry, don't show emotions, and those sorts of things. So that's immediately initially what came to mind.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Dane?
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm here, President. Just repeat a minute. I got part of it, but what you're saying, what does it mean to be a man? How do I see being a man in this contemporary space?
Yes, when you hear the phrase "be a man," what comes to mind in this 2025 era?
Well, what I would say is that I often view the phrase sort of like persons, reminiscing on when we had a society that had strong masculine values en route. What unfortunately is happening now is that our societies has become somewhat eroded in that what was considered a traditional, like for example, from our Christian principles, the man must be the head of the household. And interestingly, not to go too far, I was having a conversation with a coworker of mine who has been married for 30 years. And we were sharing that how is it that in 2025 we have a space where a male can be in a household and is quite comfortable to, in that household, for example, it might be controversial here to say, okay, the lady works and take care of him. In my traditional setting, coming from rural Jamaica, even if the wife is making more than the husband, it's not known. The husband still is afforded at a level of authority, respectfully, and is still required to both protect the family physically, provide moral guidance to the children in the household, and project the family through the wider society, ensure that there's a level of stability. And so to come to me, I'm not old school, I'm not old school dad. I'm not old school male that says I have a responsibility, whatever the case may be, to be the protector, the carer, and the giver, and to support the female within the household in that regard. So, as I said, what is happening is that I think there erosion of that has led to a sort of, disappointment, for a lot of persons. In thus you hear the term "be a man," in that maintain a traditional value that they would have so been used to.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Thanks for that. Priesnell, Klemarr?
Well, for me, being a man, as I think said by Dane in some respect, when I usually hear that term today, it's usually coming from a woman. And I think it's their own interpretation, perception of traditional values, traditional systems that we would have operated under. Now, what is usually funny about that statement, right, is the fact that we're operating in a non-traditional environment. It's almost like the rules have changed, but you expect us to be the same. You expect us to still have the same responsibilities with essentially not the same tools. So, things are constantly evolving. You expect men to evolve with that. So you'll say, oh, you guys are not men anymore. You guys are not evolving. But at the same time, the goalpost is being moved. So it feels like a very sticky position to be in as a man and as men collectively today.
Okay, very well. Klemarr?
Yes, good evening. And I guess I could agree with all my colleagues here. But especially Priesnell, I totally agree. It comes from the opinion of society and most importantly women, because the space for men to be expressive or self-aware and to actually connect is influenced, or it is judged by women who in society today say man for be man, or man for all of them stress. So you realize that as you go through life today, and taking on those traditional roles, these roles are not only taken on with the idea that yes, I'm the provider, I'm the one who's supposed to do all of these. I find that females today expect you to do that, and also to transition into being that emotional, to have emotional intelligence without expressing your emotional limitations. Because once you do that, then it goes back to what I think Matthew had said, is that where they say big man not for cry, or man for firm, or or stuff like where you say no woman can't abuse a man unless him a want like a sissy. So those are the stereotypes that continue to haunt the growth and what you'd say the transition in how men should evolve into what you'd say as centralized focus in the family structure.
Very well. Thank you. Thanks for sharing those thoughts, gentlemen. Now, what do you find most conflicting, though? The most conflicting message that society sends to our men today? If you were to identify a major message, what would that be about our identity? Who wants to go first?
Well, if I should go, I believe I don't think it's a singular message.
Mm-hmm.
But from my interactions, and I've had a lot of corporate interactions, for example, where it's heavily dominated by females. I've had many debates with my friends. A few of them, I believe, are on this call currently over the years. And I would say to them, for example, Jamaica has, we know generally speaking, there is a lot of women across the globe, including here in Jamaica, that, continue to be marginalized. But, with lots of programs over the years, female empowerment, has significantly improved. So much to the point sometimes it becomes a case where, and I personally don't believe it's mutually exclusive. We need to have female empowerment, but we also need to have male empowerment. As my fellow panelists have, pretty much spoken on, you do have, parts of the society believing that, they will say to us, you should open up. But, when we do open up, you might hear that, okay, you're being too emotional about it. And again, as you said earlier, you should be a man, right? That's not how a man's supposed to behave. So it really is a situation where sometimes we feel as men, darn if we do, darn if we don't. And, there are several things, I feel like as men, sometimes we are not valued as much, not until we're needed, not until the water bottle is empty. That's when we're called upon. And then when it's empty, you're like, are there no men? Where are the men? Where are the men? So yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. If I may go, um,
Yes. Go right ahead.
two things. Again, controversially, just if as a man, and I mean this popular program called Simso Session. Just imagine you as a man go on Simso Session now and speak about your inner views. You'll be chastised about the next morning because at the prison as a man, you're not supposed to be emitting no raw emotion. You should keep that to yourself. And the other thing too, so in addition to not to holding emotion, the other conflict is if you and what I find is that if you're a man who is financially empowered, it's all good. Let the tables turn. And unfortunately, you find you're in a society where the tendency to project that I am the strong one here, you almost find that in certain that again controversially, the man will be what you call it, emasculated to an extent. And I've seen it quite a bit, wherein when the man is strong, nobody knows that the man is the strong one. But when the woman is strong, oh my goodness, it is evident right across the board. So those are some contradictions I'm seeing out there.
Yes. Yes. Anybody else want to chime in quickly?
If I may,
Yes.
I'll have to agree with Dana and Priesnell. For me, what I'm seeing coming out from their points is a lot of double standards, and Jamaican society is known for its double standards. Um, and very much so, so growing up, we're told keep your emotions in, don't show your emotions, but yet still we're told or we're encouraged, quote unquote, to express ourselves or to find a safe space where you can go and confide in. But yet still, we're still being told, oh, you have to be strong, be firm, be the man, do what you have to do, all of that. So then a lot of times men are conflicted on one hand. Two, even though they may probably want to get to the point where they do open up, they're still some of them are still somewhat restricted or guarding themselves. So even though some men will come to the point where they will open up, there's still a level of guardedness. The walls are still up. So even though you'll have men open up, they're not completely open or vulnerable enough to do that. So then, therefore, that begs us now to create safe spaces for men so that they can do that openly, with transparency, with accountability, without shame, without judgment.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Thank you, sirs. All right. If we were to look at value in the truest sense of the word, do you feel valued? In what spheres of your life? I mean, whether it be your work life, family life, friendships, your community, where do you really feel the most valued? And where do you feel the least valued? Who wants to go first with this one?
Richard. Okay. I
Yes,
would
go right
say
ahead, Klemarr.
the least valued would be when you're in the, what you'd say, you're in that big pool or that big space in society. So, for example, and it's gonna kind of inch back on the same question you asked before, because what happened is that when you're in society and you decide to do the things that the women,
The barn in the community. So the hurricane might have knocked her off
somebody needs to mute.
knocked the wind from her body.
I think
And
Patrick.
Can we mute that person, please? Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yes. So I was saying it's mostly when you look at just society at its raw stage. So, for example, if any of one of these gentlemen on here decided that they need to, for example, take care of themselves, so a visit to the salon or a visit to get a pedicure or a manicure, then I can tell you this, that they will be frowned upon by women, and not only women, by us men too. So it's so hypocritically we also undervalue what we believe, or devalue what we should be promoting, right? And then when you take a spin again, that's those same persons, especially the women, will say, "Me not talk to him because he's messy. He not put himself together." Right? So again, somebody, I think Priesnell mentioned it, damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? Where I feel the most value is from the persons who you consider to be the most innocent of society. Can you guess who that is?
The children?
The children, exactly. The children. So, for example, many times I could just maybe just pay for my daughter dance class and then sit back and hear how it went, I at a later date. But this is where you get to insert your dominance, insert your value. You attend those little show ups for them. And when you actually make that effort, they turn to you and said, "Oh my God, I'm so happy that you came." They didn't say, "I'm so happy that you paid for it." They say, "I'm so happy that you came."
Yes, yes, yes. That's how
Exactly.
you know the value. Yes, you're so
So
right.
that,
I love that example.
yeah, so it's I'm telling you, you're overwhelmed by those compliments, and so those little people or those little human beings are those persons who lead the empathy line for you and define what purpose and value is in your everyday life.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. Who else will go quickly?
Yeah, so I don't want to say I don't feel valued, right? Firstly. But the short answer is that sometimes I would say, though, that it's not always deliberate. I don't think it is deliberate a lot of the times. You'll see for Father's Day, the celebrations are not really as loud. You see for Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, even us as men don't even know anything about Prostate Cancer Month, truth be told. You see International Men's Day, like most of us, you know, would not even remember that this is actually a day on the calendar. So the truth is that I believe we as men have to be men of value. You know, we're not only useful when the car breaks down or the tire is flat or some other physical work, right? We're not only brawn, we are brained, and I would say, especially Kiwanis men who, all Kiwanis men on this platform, we are men of valor and value. So I believe we have to firstly see value in ourselves in order for those around us, including other men. We have to be role models. Even earlier today, at the barber shop, I saw a young man in his CKI shirt, even though we didn't really interrelate. But there, I looking on to say, well, yeah, at least he is headed in the right direction, I would imagine. And I would say is already a man of value. So those are things that we have to look at and not just look at it from the standpoint that, if we're not getting the gifts, if we're not getting, all these special, treatment all the time, it means that we're not of value and we're not appreciated. But I will say though that they are women and men too. We have to give, as them is, I don't want them come say, we in our soft girl era to talk about flowers, but give each other our flowers. Don't wait until we're at the grave and that's the only time we're getting flowers. We have to give ourselves our flowers, I believe.
Okay.
I don't want any flowers though. I want rims and tires.
Yeah, in a way, we are, it's a common theme that as men, we are more like the invisible hand. So, that's the invisible hand that keeps things moving. We become, it's just that sometimes that invisible hand, you would want more moments when you bring visibility. So just to underscore, so I mean, and that's why certainly I have to go deeply, Klemarr. Those little creatures, that little creature that we have, they're our
Yes.
children. I think they underscore. But I tell you what, you want to know how valid you are in the household, disappear for a week and come back. And then you simply start to see that what seems like a perfectly normal functional space, functionality goes through the door. And it's a creak, and it becomes what was an well-oiled machinery start to creak. And so, yes, unfortunately, that's when sometimes you will hear that, wow, you're really missed. But I mean, I think as men, we are also guilty too of, and I can speak personally that I've had, for example, one birthday celebration in all my years on earth at 37, one. And any opportunity to sort of give these great highlights, I shy away from them because you just always grew up that, the man just get things done and move on. You have a drink with the man at the bar and that's it. You don't know what about excitement. And in fact, you go out and the time to take photos and you don't want no picture. So yes, we are somewhat guilty of it. We don't really want no
Yes.
limelight. We just want for the
Yes.
family good and things are going on. So yes, we are getting to the point where maybe we are more amenable to taking more the limelight. But yes, it's a 50-50 balance.
Very well. Thank you, sir. Any other very quickly on this value issue? If no,
You only take
then
comments from the panel or
oh yes, is that Dr. Harvey? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead, Dr. Harvey.
All right, good night, all. I've been listening keenly, and it's very interesting. What I would start off by saying is that and I'm a Bible-based guy, if we go back to the Bible, and back in times, you could look at books, philosophy, psychology, look at who wrote those. I don't remember seeing any women writers in none of those books, in those development. And if you look at a lot of other functional areas in the world, back in those times, come up, men has been significantly playing roles that don't require nobody to say whether they're valued or not. Our function was evident. Then when it came down now to the philosophies, one writer says, each and every male is not just a male, you're a female as well. And because check it, when you're born, it's two gender put together to bring you on earth. And the philosopher says, if a female can do it, you can do it too. Plato in his Republic wrote that if you have two gender children in the home, both children should do all the chores. So fast forward, one of our fundamental dichotomy is that our fathers, who is the first abuser of the home by leaving, by not being present, cause us to be having this discussion. And so what happened is, if there's no male for us to emulate, for us to role model, we are going to do a thing called psychosocialize based upon what you saw and get from the female. And so the female can control the narrative, which is what they have been doing. And you all spoke about it. So the question is, where has been our forefathers after those guys like Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, those guys who wrote many books, who led those pastors? Where are those males? Where are they? And so in conclusion, in this basic introduction is, we as men today, we don't need to be listening and looking and hearing for the society to say X, Y, and Z, and we are going confused. We as men, young men now, need to start create and formulate a narrative for us looking back in the time. So the issue I have is many men today haven't looked back on the history and check this, not to demise women. In those days, women weren't given the opportunity to get full education for whatever the reason were. And then you have the evolution. So women are on a war path because there have been centuries and decades that they have been left behind. We don't need to fight that battle because we already won it. It's already innate in us. So we actually have two sets. Many people don't realize that. So if you're going to fight a war, for example, you're going to have the genes of the persons who won the war before or was leading the war, and you're going to have the genes of the persons who are winning the war now. So as a young man, you are already winning. What we don't realize is that we are waiting for these women to solidify who we are. We are already solidified based upon history. So what we as men have to do is go back to that and build on that. And so that is where I think psychosocially we have lost our path. For example, let me conclude. All the young men who are struggling right now with their appearance, check the home. There's no father, there's no male. What they saw is how a woman dress. And a woman here, let's take the hair for example, is in a particular way. And more than 80% of the males in a particular geographical area, they do not have a male hairstyle because what they saw is what they practice. So if we can get back to the point where we know we're having this discussion, it shouldn't be just about talking. So here's a question. What can you do now to set the stage for us as men? We don't need to be listening to women and looking at them. We already have it within us. Plato said, what is it that you're going to bring out? You don't know, we need to wait for them to value you. They don't need to be confused whether you're a breadwinner or not. And in this aspect, empathy is from men. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. And he came here and lived for 30 odd years, showing empathy, sympathy, and love. We don't need to wait for that in us.
Yes.
So all we need to do is rebuild. Sorry to take up so much time, sir, but yeah.
And that's okay, because guess what? We want to talk a little bit more about the struggles. You just touched on it. Because there are some silent struggles. Why are those persons who are bleaching? Why these men feel that they need to be bleaching? There are some struggles that are happening. So let's see if we can open this, identify some of these silent struggles that confronts us as men, and how do we face them? How do we deal with them openly? What are these struggles? Gentlemen, let's talk about those struggles.
Well,
All right.
if you want to say, go ahead, Matthew.
All right. Well, as I said earlier, I didn't grow up with a father. So for me, in my home setting, I didn't have a masculine figure to give me any example or any blueprint, as it were. So I grew up in a female-dominated home. So and that pretty much is coming from what Dr. Harvey had just said a while ago. So growing up without a father spills into many things. Identity, self-esteem, a whole lot of other things.
Yeah. And to tackle the specific issue, as you said, in terms of identity and beauty, why men bleach, for instance, right? I can say from what I've seen on the ground, a couple of the reasons why men bleach. Their role models. Their role models are people like Vibes Cartel who have bleached in the past. Now, who was Vibes Cartel's role model? That's a question to ask. What is one of the reasons why Vibes Cartel bleach? To show his tattoos. As basic as that, right? But you now have to ask yourself, why did he need to show tattoos in the first place? So there is almost like a cycle. It's almost like you could go into a spiral trying to figure out some of these things. You really have to get to the root cause of it. And I started this conversation whereas I wanted to really share some of the broader issues. I believe overall we have somewhat of a crisis among men. This author, Richard Reeves, he has a book called Of Boys and Men, where he states that it's not just a feeling, it's about systems. Education essentially has not really evolved, right? Boys are essentially behind, almost a full academic year behind girls. 60% of college students are girls. Scott Galloway, a professor, right? He talks about the epidemic of isolation, whereas a more recent study found that 15% of men have no close friend, right? That's a five-fold increase since the 1990s. And if you think this is just okay, he points out that this is essentially significant, that, this is pointing to smoking at least 15 cigarettes a day, right? He also talks about 1/3 of men who are also not having sex, right? Another issue that is largely dominated by men, suicidal rates, 4 times the rate of women. And finally, the rose amongst the thorns, Dr. Niobe Way, she's a professor of development psychology, posits that for over 30 years, she's really interviewed young men. And she reveals that in her work, that essentially we weren't born this way, essentially, right? We were cultured to not be vulnerable, to not look at ourselves, because at a certain point, as you see, the kids, they're so innocent, some of the things that they will open up and talk about, but after a certain time, maybe in their teens, late teens, early teens, they begin to close up. And that is where some of these issues stem from.
Okay. If I may, Teacher
Yes.
Richard,
Go
in
right
terms
ahead,
of,
Dean.
I was walking in halfway tree today, school dismissed, and I look at all the young men walking in halfway tree, and I say, wait, am I out of sync? Because I was the only male with my pants on my waist. Every schoolboy had, it felt so awkward looking on. So that's a negative side. The positive, though, in terms of where we need to go as a society, we are going through a disaster, Melissa, but I am positive that the Melissa experience of seeing, for example, our men in uniform, the armed forces, the military, the police, their conduct thus far as a critical institution of one of those critical institutions in a society, I am positing that the JDF will be bursting at the seams, especially with recruitment from Western Jamaica. And so where you have positive role models within the space, it becomes emulated. And, the church, in my case, I didn't grow up with a father in my household. I can't call him my daddy or no, because it sounds weird to say it. But nonetheless, I had strong male, orientation. Growing up in the church was a positive towards that. And so the institution, the school was a positive. So where it needs to start, and I give you an example. I spoke to 200 young men 7 years ago at Montego Bay Community College for the career day. And after speaking to the 200 young men the day, one young man came to me and said, "Sir, I want you to be my father. I need your number." He was from South Spring. And I've, monitored his progress, supported him over the years, to the point now where he's at the University of the West Indies now, completing his degree. And I look on and I say, wait, as male, just having a positive, because he had every opportunity to be a scammer. Every opportunity to be a scammer from South Spring. But by just being able, and sometimes I feel awkward because him time call me and say I'm a father. He introduced everybody to me as his father, as his father. But the point is, just that role model in the space made a difference. And so we just want to get to the point, and I'm hoping, the critical institutions, the school, the home, the church, the community, these are institutions that need to start owning our males, and don't be afraid to speak when we see them going down, because too often we are quiet until they get to the point where we can't claim them back. Because I do believe our males, if they can be influenced in the negative, they can also be influenced in the positive. So we just have to continue to push the positive if we are going to get that change over time in attitude, behavior. And certainly in a few years, we can speak to our men being men of high value and role models in our society.
Okay. Very well, thank you. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We want to therefore look at the flip side now and to talk a little bit about strength. What does strength look like in the modern man? Can we champion vulnerability as well as resilience almost basically at the same time? Is that possible? How do we choose, our role models? And to what extent is strength important as it regards to men and your manhood? Let's talk about that.
Richard.
Yes,
Yeah, just
sir.
a comment to Dr. Harvey. I don't think men walked out. I think we were drove out of the home. And I'm glad that you went back to the Bible, Dr. Harvey, because many of those men in the Bible had 4 and 5 wives. I don't think you could manage one of these modern women in today's society. But yes, Richard, you are correct. How we could champion strength. So physical toughness definitely is now being complemented. And I use the word very direct or very purposeful, complemented, not replaced. So physical toughness is now being complemented with emotional intelligence. And if you look at it, we have a lot of role models in society who have led with empathy. Take, for example, I think somebody mentioned Hurricane Melissa, so I'll go back to that example. If you look at, for example, Adam Stewart. Adam Stewart, I believe, is a very emotional intelligence leader. From the what you say, the 5K that he organized for his now deceased wife, who departed with cancer. So now I think I was reading yesterday or day before that, despite Sanders losing, or I think Sanders has pledged over $3 million US or 480 million Jamaican dollars towards staff recovery, and it's guaranteeing that no employee will be laid off. And if you look closer to home, Kiwanis, we have people like DLG Willie, who is the champion for the feeding program, the monthly feeding program of our homeless. And sitting right here, I mean, not in a physical room, but in this virtual space, we have many distinguished leaders, many distinguished presidents who are male, who have led their various clubs to distinguished status, who all doing this while managing the high percentage of members who are females, right? So we have been taught to manage those, not only our emotions, but emotions of those that are around us. So self-awareness is something that we need to tap into ourselves. And that's why I agree with that part from Dr. Harvey, that we need to tap into that. We can't sit around and wait for persons to say, hey, come for a hug, to feel like we are valid. We have to get up and actually do that. But I just want to reiterate one more point before I give somebody else a chance, is that it is the hypocrisy of the men too. Because I'm pretty sure any gentleman here sitting here, if they were to be abused tomorrow and go to the police station to have that reported, I can assure you that within less than 24 hours, you would become a TikTok or an Instagram reel, passing around, having for just for laughs. So we are our own, what you'd say, enemy in how we revalue and actually build our strength in the space.
Okay, very well, thank you. Other panelists, your take?
I think for me, well, in addition to what was said earlier about empathy, self-awareness, I'll add to that character and values, because at the end of the day, you have to find and have something that you believe in, and let that be your guiding principle or your guiding philosophy, so to speak.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Character and values, yes.
Yeah,
Any other?
for me, I believe there is strength in showing vulnerability. For me, especially as an entrepreneur, I've had to basically, reach out to family, friends, because sometimes even in discussions with women, they'll say, we can't do this or we can't do that, or they'll feel like they are sort of being ignored. And I'm saying sometimes even the Bible will say, ask and it shall be given. So not every time somebody doesn't do something that you would want them to do means that they're against you, or it means that they're not considering you. Sometimes it's just for us to really communicate better, for us to communicate better, more openly, right? That is how we will be able to, each, understand each other's needs and where we are on our, various development level, our growth paths. So I believe, open communication, and that involves vulnerability, as I said before. So for me, vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is strength. So that's how I look at it. And in terms of Klemarr, I couldn't say it better in terms of role models. Sometimes I will see, young men, whether it's in the corporate world or even sometimes on the road, certain interactions, sometimes just an encouraging word. I could remember years ago, I saw two young men, funny enough. I didn't think of this before, by the way. We were at North St. Andrews party all the way around, I think it's Dumbly Holding. And I saw two security guards. They were familiar to me because they were living on my scheme. And previous to that, we didn't have any formal relationships, but we knew each other's faces, right? So I'm here, they're there, and rather than pretend that I didn't know them, I went over and engaged them. A few years later, one of them is a member of the JDF. They mentioned JDF just now. And the other one actually got a better job. And how did I know? Because we became friends and they both gave me updates in terms of, how they were able to grow. And, especially the encouraging words that I gave them in that instant. So it is important that, we see this as a collective and not in an individual, because it takes a village to raise a man.
Yes, totally agree. Thank you.
Sorry,
Yes.
just to quickly piggyback on what Priesnell said just now. Pride is a part of the problem too, and I'm speaking from personal experience as well. Pride is a hell of a thing. If you can kill that, then you can be more humble, be more willing, and be more open to ask, as Priesnell said. Because sometimes all you need to do is just ask. And it's better you do that than to, God forbid, wait until you're in a dire situation. So we need to kill pride.
Hi, oh boy, I tell you, are we not learning?
So all the panelists spoke already?
Anybody else wanted to chime in on strength?
Yeah, because I want to.
No, man,
Yeah,
you
I
can
want to
go
say
ahead. You
something.
can go ahead.
Go right ahead, Dr. Harvey.
All right. So you had mentioned something about the men in the
Sounds like
Bible
you're a
days.
fifth panelist, but go ahead.
All right, so the men in the olden days, as I say, we couldn't manage them. Is that word manage? That is the word that caused a lot of dilemma in males, or just generally. In relationship, in relating to anyone, we are customers, internal and external. We're not supposed to manage nobody or manage no human being. What we're supposed to be doing, we're supposed to be collaborating and working together. Proverbs, if you read Proverbs and Songs of Solomon, those two Bibles complement each other. And the male there, Solomon, talk about the quality of the woman, and the woman talk about the quality of the man indirectly. That is what has been missing, that collaborate, that infusion of both male and female. And so what happens is that's where our strength gone. Because what we do is separate ourselves from the root. Who is our root? Our root right now is really male, but the true root is the female, is where we are from. So if we say we're gonna take ourselves from the female. Oh, and by the way, you don't know that I work with young men in the inner city, and 95% of them who come to me, they say the father leave them with their mother. And so that. Did you know that? So let me stop right this and show you where the psychology gone. There's a thing called ACEs. You can look it up. It's called adverse childhood experience. So when the father leave the home, that's the first abuse the child get. Abandonment, neglect from his father, So then the woman now have to take up the role, and then she is more likely, 70% more likely to abuse the child than the father, because I'm not there. So the adverse childhood experience that the male go through by watching and socializing one way, which is the female way, diminishes strength as a human being, not as a man. He said that what we're doing with genderizing this male thing is not a man thing, it's a human being thing. And so when the male is not there, he has nothing to emulate. So when my first son saw me shaving, and because when I'm there, I don't use the clothes about when I'm saw me shaving. One day I come home and see him cut him face. Him say, I said, what happened to you? Him say, Junior, him say, him cut him face. I say, how come? He saw me shaving. Now check this. If me never did it, him wouldn't know about shaving. What I'm gonna do is plait him here. Yeah, you see me? So that's where that's where. And the next thing is, many men don't even know their love language. I want you to watch this carefully. There's a book I want you to get to read, The 5 Love Language by a guy named Gary Chapman. And there's the next book is The Art of War by a guy named Sun Tzu. Watch this. If you want no strength, find your love language. Some of us male, all we do is love the female. How do female them socialize we for love them? That I'm not so our love language and vice versa. And so we get tricked. So when a woman we are buy things and I say we are breadwinner because we are showing love. That is not love for us. We are loving them through their eyes. What is your love language? Some of us may never need to know because they don't want to know. So you find where our strength is inner. All strengths come from inner. And if your self-esteem low, it will come out. If your self-image low, it will come out. You never have no empathy, you never have no sympathy, and as such, you try to manage women and manage people. We need to collaborate, and that's where the strength is. And go back to the Bible. The Bible said, you can do all things through Christ who strengthened it. What happened? The word strength don't just come because of you as a human being. It come from a supreme being. And so if man and woman have got to the same supreme being, that means that we are one. And that's the collaboration. So yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I hear you, and I agree with quite a number of points that you made. But one thing you must not, what you'd say, you'd still need to keep in that review mirror is that, you see, so I understand that we need to work as a collective team because we're working towards one goal. But one of the things that you must understand is the historic imbalance. Because for generations, men have been the dominant one. I think Dr. Harvey was the one who said it. So we've been dominant in leadership, we've been dominant in resources, and quite frankly, we've been dominant in recognition. Now, when women started to fight for equality, you started to see them starting to push towards being that what you'd say that front and that person at the forefront. And as women gain ground, they started to protect their space rather than share it. And you can look at it, a lot of times a woman will say, my money is for me and your money is for we. So they begin, so they protect their space rather than share it. And then there's also a part where there's a distrust, where many women believe that if a man is acting with empathy, or he's being too, in Jamaican terms, scary or emotional, then it may simply be a performative act, right? It may simply be performative. And the final thing that you need to also keep in mind is that in society, how we see it now, when men do things that are normally done by women, they are praised, right? And showing and so women may start to feel or fuel that rivalry because men are being praised for doing this. Men are being praised for standing up and doing the roles that women would normally do. So women now started to feel threatened by that. So those are some of the points that we also still need to keep in mind, notwithstanding all of what Dr. Harvey said.
And with that really takes us now to opening the discussion. I know 6 men have almost dominated this session in speaking so far. We would love to hear from the ladies who are online as well as the other men who believe that they should be chiming in at this time. So we will definitely open the floor now to anybody who would want to, if you have a question to any of the panelists, Dr. Harvey now included, you can ask that question. And if it is that you want to make a comment regarding any of the points that have already been raised, then please feel free to chime in at this time. Anybody?
Hi, PP Richard.
Hey, DP
Wonderful
Chantal.
discussions.
Yes,
I'm here
yes.
listening to it, and I have to commend the different perspectives that were put forward tonight by our panelists, including Dr. I think for me, my only question probably would be around the issue of, I think I don't remember who was the one probably who alluded to it, but it's around the issue of mentorship. In Kiwanis, we know that we do that a lot, but as it relates to your own personal view on that, I know Dane gave his take on how it would have impacted him, but or impacted the person, but my take is not on the person. I think it's almost like you having an intrinsic experience from helping somebody else. So my take is more on the lines of that. As men, when you do engage in anything in terms of mentorship or anything like that, is there a value added for you? Because for women on the other side of the spectrum, I think we thrive in that. We thrive in knowing that our actions are not just maybe like monetary reward or whatever. But I think for women, we also want, I don't know if it's the nurturing side of us, but we also want to have that particular impact where we feel as though our contributions then are looked at on a more emotional level. So is it the same thing for men? Because I don't think we really look at how men feel, because we have this notion of not wanting to really look at that. So I want to know if, from the perspective of the panelists, if when you engage in anything like that as men in service, does that affect you? And if so, how is it that you deal with that? Because sometimes, I know for women, it can be a true burden because you're thinking about it all day, every day, and you really don't know how to get it out of your system.
Okay. Which of our panelists will take that on right now?
Okay. Well, certainly we again, from a personal perspective, whenever any form of outreach I do or mentorship or that kind of thing is yes, there's an inner feeling of satisfaction to see that you played a positive role. But I would say, we tend to just we're systems. We think as a system, and so for me, it's just another function that makes the system works and that gives a better result. So we are more geared towards the result of, and less for the bling or the limelight, or in fact, again, using the term, we less like to be the silent hand. Once the results are great, we are happy and move on. But perhaps being that silent hand has deprived the broader society of, when a man plays a role, the difference that role makes, because we are just being the silent hand. Again, maybe I like to be controversial. I often said, and it's something, my mom was a single parent mom for years, but I never hear her say or speak how proud she is as a single parent mom. In fact, late in life, she was one who encouraged me to embrace my father. And so I often had this thing where I get annoyed personally when I hear, for example, a female say, "Boy, my greatest achievement is single-handedly taking care of my child," and so on. So, for me, yes, it's good. But for me, I think you need a whole. And so for me, yes, it's controversial, but I rather, even if I am if I'm a single parent father, for me, I don't want to go out and sing that as a single parent father I did it. For me, I think, you need the whole. And so when I give men from a mentorship, it's about filling a void that is potentially there for the system to work efficiently and for the system to have the desired results at the end of the day.
Yeah. In fact, Dr. Harvey did speak about the collaboration there, and that's important. It really takes a village to raise a child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other
if
response?
if I should chime in, I think of course there is especially the example that I gave with the two young men, I gave that advice and I totally forgot about that. If he didn't see me and share, the story of growth, I really would not have known. But the thing is, we sometimes are mentored. We mentor people, I would say all the time, without even seeing it as mentorship because it isn't a formal written agreement. There's certainly lots of gap though, so that says that there's certainly more we can do individually and as a collective. But I would say, even for myself in my growth, I've been mentored by many people, including Richard here as well. It's just that we didn't ever have a conversation to say, well, I
This
want
is
you to be my mentor. Yeah,
formalize it.
formal
Yes.
no.
Right.
It was never like that. But we build bond, even things like sports.
Yes.
Sometimes we would say as men, it can be pretty easy to make friends because I could tell you, if I went into the national stadium right now, I don't need to know the guy beside me. As long as we're cheering for the same team, even sometimes we're cheering for different teams and we turn friends, but we don't do enough of it.
Yes.
And for those among us who are not really into sports, for example, there can be other outlets for us to, to commingle and grow together.
Yeah, certainly. All right.
Let me give my reaction.
Yes, please.
As I think I have the traits of a female. And so one of the fundamental things that guides my infusion into the lives of human beings, I'm actually a model. I don't have to say anything. I know that I'm a model because that's what I'm there for. And I use the guide when the Lord of the disciples, training them, preparing them to go out. So as an individual working with the young people, old people, middle-aged, women, men. As a matter of fact, I've done more of my work with women. And it will be surprising. It's the same thing the young lady spoke about. It's a feeling that holds me, yes. And it actually gives me that feeling that you're trying to express as a female, but I can't express it the way she asks it. And you know one of the good thing about it is, I have been in almost all areas, sports, church, psychology, whatever, behavior, this. And mentoring is natural. You know why? Because based upon my childhood experience that I don't want nobody else to live. So for Christ to live. So what happens is that Christ came on the earth as God's son, so we don't die in sin. So he come and show us to live. My thing is, any human being see me must want to not do anything negative with them life. And it feels good for me as a man. I want it to happen. It rests on my soul sometimes, as a lady would say. I want to go back. Sometimes when you go to your bed, you carry it because there is that inner connection. Because remember, all of us are infused, believe it or not, one way or the other, we are connected. And that is the empathy, that's the emotional connection that I'm not going to say the men who don't have it or have it, whatever. But I connect with what the young lady was saying. And maybe because I'm a more deeper psychological person as it relates to my growing up, and then my growing up lead me into the studies. So maybe that's one of the reasons. So each individual would have their own, but I connect with what the young lady was saying.
I tell you, awesome responses here. Awesome responses. What about the women? Would they be better allies in this kind of conversation? How are you ladies feeling about us men and what we are discussing now? What are you thinking? What is your feeling right now in this conversation that we're having?
So, PP Richard, since I wanted to be a part of the panel as the only female, so let me say, I think for me, it's always refreshing. Every time we have these type of meetings where I get the opportunity to hear men who are in service or men who I believe are educated and people who I respect hearing speak. Every time I have these type of conversation, it reminds me of something. I know us in Jamaica, men love to say all men are dogs and this and that, and we have this notion of generalization. And then when I have these meetings and I listen to my fellow Kiwanians speak or guests come and speak, it always lets me, like, it's almost like me in my head, and me's like, all right, then this notion of Jamaican man are this or Jamaican man are that cannot be true. And I think it's an association type of thing. It's who you associate with and who you are able to hear from. But I also think it is because men don't want to talk. I don't think men in general, not even just Jamaican men, want to talk and express themselves because it is a hard thing to be a vulnerable man. I think somebody said it early on that it's hard to express yourself, as then you go hear man not for do this, man not for do that. So it's always a refreshing feeling to hear, because I think everyone makes valid points in terms of, and it's cutely aligned that all persons have their own different perspectives, even though they have merging of ideas and everybody can say, okay, I agree with that, but it's always different perspectives. Who don't grow with mother, who grow with both parents, and it's always just so refreshing to hear. So when I am sitting here, I'm thinking, okay, then when we lack and that's why I go back to mentorship so often when we have these discussions, because when we lack persons to mentor, I always wonder why. Why do we lack persons to mentor? Because the persons who are supposed to be providing that guidance, supposed to be helping persons who may not have father figures or male figures or strong structures, these are the persons that you would want to be associated with your young boys. But it's baffles me sometimes when I see the persons who end up being the ones that are the role models, and I'm like, why? It's like, why?
Yes. Thanks for that feedback. Thank you.
Let me answer on the why. Let me answer on the why there.
Yes.
And I'm sorry to think there, but there's a psychosocial issue in Jamaica, where we as a nation or as a human being, our reservoir or our vocabulary for positivity, or our farmland for positivity, dry up. And so you find that according to the ACEs, more individual in their childhood suffer great negativity. And if you look at a lady who have 3 children or 4 or 5, she alone doing it, and the father is not there, she tend to expel a lot of negativity on the child, especially if it's boys. And so that become a reservoir now. So when he hears anything or see anything outside there negative, it connect to his negative brought up see and multiply on it. And that's why they say it takes 7 times positive to erase 1 negative. And so that is the why, my young lady. So we as men on this platform, this is a very good program, I must say. Congratulations to the Kiwanis. We now have to have more of these discussion, not just on a platform like this. So the DJs can hear we, the young boys, the pastor, because just yesterday I saw something where this pastor has how many women pregnant in the same church.
Oh, Lord.
And it goes back to the psychosocial things we're discussing here. And so, because you talk about the Bible days when you have how many women, today we're not supposed to manage a woman, we're supposed to collaborate and in working together. I want to shut it out like this. First of all, the devil don't like to see the home. And the first home or structure was the Garden of Eden. You notice it have the different fruit at different place. Everything was structured and organized. And you have the male and the female here to manage it. It's the same thing with the home. And so what he did, he attacked the weakest link, which is the male, and have him not there. And so all these substance come in, and the why that she asks, all of the boys want to drop them pants like prisoners, that's negative. All of them want cuss bad word like that, negative. All of them want this women, negative. And so when you put positive to even some women don't even have the ability to absorb it. So they can't teach it. And so that's one of the why.
Mm. Wow. Wow.
And I
Thank
quickly
you.
add, and I quickly
Yes.
add to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I agree, they don't have the capacity to absorb it, and that is why, thought-provokingly, I believe that men should mentor women on how to deal with men, because a lot of times we see men mentoring men about how to deal with all of these deficiencies that may arise in our everyday life, but then it
Mm-hmm.
probably end up into a blame game of the opposite sex to say, yeah man,
Mm-hmm.
I saw a woman treat we, stuff like that. But if
Mm-hmm.
men were actually teaching women, mentoring women on how to respond, on how to respond and how to treat men, then we probably
Mm-hmm.
would have a greater impact. Because what Chantal says, is true. Men may feel emotionally disconnected, for they
Mm-hmm.
lack the friendship, the societal norms as we know it discourages men to seek help. And so
Yes.
what happens? This isolation then manifests into anger, addiction, withdrawal, all of those things that were mentioned before. And and
Mm-hmm.
and all of this is coupled with the high expectation of men, who is trying to prove his worth. And I use that very loosely, the word prove, as Dr. Arby had said, prove his worth through income and career success. So a job
Mm-hmm.
loss or a financial instability can trigger feelings of failure. Um, Even if he contributes in other meaningful ways. But how does he
Yes.
tell his partner that and still
Mm-hmm.
and not feel emasculated? And
Yes.
one last point is, if you look at even social media, when you see somebody speaking up about how men should be treated, if you see a man speak about it, yeah, man, yeah, yeah. But when you see a woman speak about it, you see everybody in the comments say, protect this female. She's because you can see that she has healed, and she
Mm.
and she has put forward something that is, strong and meaningful and purposeful in how to deal with the struggle that men deal with.
Mm. Yep. My.
I think you have a
I'm
hand,
telling you.
Richard, from Bedford.
Say that again.
I think
Hello?
Bev Thompson. Yeah, I think
Oh, Bev.
Beverly Thompson trying to come.
Okay. Go right ahead, Auntie Bev.
Hey, are you hearing me?
Yes. Hearing
Okay,
you loud
great.
and clear now.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
thanks. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Really, I just want to really offer my congratulations to President and the team for this wonderful, wonderful program that you have just done here tonight. I'm suggesting, President, that we take this to another level. Because a program like this, and with the same panelists, a program like this, I think it has to be heard more than just us 19 persons online. So whichever way you want to do it, we should arrange to have this maybe at maybe an all clubs meeting or some other platform where we can
Yes.
get more persons involved to listen to all that was said.
Yes.
Extremely, extremely useful. And really, I'm very proud of all of the panelists and of Barbican. Thanks for this
Yes.
opportunity to sit in and listen to this wonderful program.
Wow. 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 Thank you. Thank you, Auntie Bev. And coming from you, I know that this is well worth it. Folks, I know that it's now 8:10. Prez, do we wrap up right here?
Yes, you guys can start wrapping up.
All right. So here's the deal, folks. For wrap up this evening, let's see if we can ask each panelist, including Dr. Harvey, by the way, to take away, just give us just one takeaway or one action that they can encourage the audience to take, relating to all that we have discussed here this evening.
Yeah, I'll be quick, right?
Yes.
Men must be men.
Yes. Yes, sir. Right. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
I think I'll be quick as well. Self-care and mental health, and I endorse this program being put on a larger scale.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Yes, I will say that our nation, as Auntie Bev says,
Yes.
need to get a chance to listen to this. And so, Ro, you probably don't even realize the value, the qualitative information, the passion, the expression, the experience that comes out, that more people need to hear this. So I endorse what Auntie Bev says.
Sure. Thank you.
It's a pleasure sharing. And at any opportunity at a broader space, again, I'll avail. So it was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. And Dr. Harvey, just to ask, you're a man of God. You're which one of the denominations are you allied to? Because I have you sound like somebody of the Adventist movement. Are you, Dr. Harvey?
All right. Every time people ask me that, I don't know if I can say I'm multi-denominational, but I will say this, you see, the Seventh-day Church has provided me a number of platforms for growth and development and therapeuticness. As a matter of fact, when I was going through some deep home psychological problem, the church, the women in the Seventh-day Church at Kencut have me did some psychosocial therapy. Look at the irony, not for them, for me, but I was using them. So I was training them how to deal with men in marriage situation and not working for them as women. And I was the one that going through it. And so that platform was very good for me. But I go across churches and I am trying to be the type of person that blend the word of God with psychology. Because there's a gap. And that's one of the things that I try to do. So I go across churches and I've done presentations at almost all different denominations, whether indirectly or directly.
Okay.
Okay.
Very well.
I'll be quick because I know persons want to go watch the football also. So takeaway for me is the road is still rough as we know it. Men who choose healing are still called weak. But what I would encourage is show up for your children, show up for your family, and most importantly, show up for yourself, and everything else will be aligned.
Yes. Amen. All right. Well, I will just say here, folks, that this has been a tremendous discussion. And two things I'd want to just share very quickly. One is that as men, we not just set example, we be the example. Yeah, we be the example. And Dr. Harvey said something earlier about, the way he is and why people generally gravitate towards him. My mantra in this life is for me, Richard Rowe, to be that everyone who comes in contact with me leave my presence either feeling better about themselves or better about the situation. And if each of us could replicate that, ensuring that whatever we do every single day, everyone who comes in contact with you leave you feeling better about the situation or about themselves, then it would have been worth the while. I want to thank you all for allowing me the privilege of serving as your moderator this evening. And I want to say, God bless you, and let's continue to be great, because greatness is in all of us. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Okay, so it's
Thank you.
over to me
Same to you.
now. So I
Good
just want to
night.
say, wait, Auntie Bev, we're not. We're gone.
Oh, yeah.
So, oh, like Auntie Bev. Okay, so on behalf of everyone here, I want to, share my gratitude for you guys sharing your insights and your personal experience. Um, Thank you so much to our moderator, PP Richard, and our panelists. You guys really, really, I mean, words can't explain how you guys showed out. And I mean, let me just share my personal thing just a little bit for now. Growing up, I was not raised or have any dependable men around me. And I just want to say, since joining Kiwanis Club of Barbican, just like this meeting, for example, you guys showed me, the positive side of men. I know I was having struggles with this meeting, trying to do this meeting in a different way, but it wasn't working out. And then, I reached out to Priesnell, and I said, hey, can you help me? And with my trauma, I'm not used to really saying, oh, I'm gonna ask a man for help. They're not reliable. But since coming in the club and with this meeting, I'd say, please now, can you help me? Another male I'd ask for help, and they said, bet I'm gonna help you, say less, no worries. And you guys got the job done, and you guys really showed out, and it was a lot. And I'm definitely considering having a part two to this, maybe in person, and we should definitely invite our unofficial panelist Howard Harvey, and I also want to thank everyone for joining and taking the time out to listen to our men, because one of the issues we have in society is people don't want to listen to men and their feelings and their side of things and their thought process and their emotions. So I really appreciate you guys for creating the space for men to speak from their perspective. Truly, truly, truly appreciative of that. So we can move on to the notices and announcements. I don't think Secretary Diane will be able to do it as she's currently on her way home. So I will be doing that. So the first announcement is we have a interclubbing opportunity tomorrow. The Kiwanis Club of Young Professionals Kingston is having their installation ceremony and club meeting at the College of Insurance and Professional Studies, where their guest speaker will be Dr. Winston Delahaye, and he'll be speaking on Man Enough to Feel, Breaking the Stigma, Building Stronger Men in Recognition of International Men's Day. And the contribution is $1,500 or $1,000 with a hurricane relief donation. So I think we should support our fellow Kiwanians on this. And then on Sunday, the 23rd, some of us will be heading down to the west, where we will be donating some care packages that we packed out. As you know, we were having a collection or donation drive for the Melissa Relief Project as our first staging. Even though we have collected most of the donations so far, we are willing to facilitate more donations between now and Saturday. Mainly financial donation or the purchase of tarpaulins, but we'll be willing to facilitate any additional and donations. On Thursday, November 20, we will be having our monthly board meeting at 6:30 p.m. And then Tuesday, December 2nd, we'll be having our induction and quarterly birthday celebration meeting at JEF at 6:30 p.m. I hope to see you guys there. That is it for the announcements. we can move on to the toast. Wherever you are, please raise your glass, raise something in the air. Yes.
I'm just checking in. Do any other person online have any announcements, any notices?
Oh, yes. Do you guys have any announcements and notices?
Right. That's what I was.
Anyone? Going
Maybe
once? Not. Going twice? Okay, so raise your glass or something to drink wherever you are. Here's to Kiwanis International, serving children, strengthening communities, and inspiring leaders around the world. Cheers to continued service and fellowship. Thank you all for attending this evening. With no further business, this meeting is now adjourned. Have a safe and wonderful night, guys. If you're on the road, I hope you get home safe. And let's cheer on our reggae boys tonight. We're gonna win.
We have
Thank
to.
you guys. Right? Thank you guys for
Don't have a
joining.
choice.
It was greatly
Have a good night, folks.
appreciated. Good night, everyone.
Bye,
Yes,
everybody.
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.